Van Johnson tragically dies after reporting that Black Terror is hiding. Van Johnson was born Charles Vanell Johnson on August 25, 1916, in Newport, Rhode Island. He has a happy face at MGM. It was hard and far away for him when he was young. He was the only child of Loretta Johnson and Charles E. Johnson, a Swedish-American plumber. Van's mother tragically left the family when he was a toddler, which has had a long effect on his feelings. Van was mostly raised by himself because his father was strict and mentally distant. Van found comfort and release in music and performance. He did very well in school theater and band programs that were not required. He went to New York City after graduating from Newport's Rogers High School with hopes of making it in show business. He started out by acting in nightclubs and musical theater. He was in the ensemble of Broadway shows like New Faces of 1936 and Too Many Girls. He caught the attention of Hollywood scouts at this early stage, which led to small parts in movies and a contract with Warner Brothers. But his first time in Hollywood only led to small roles, and he went back to New York not knowing what to do next. Jones got his big break when MGM signed him in the early 1940s. Head of the studio Louis B. Van was quickly seen as a star potential by Mayer, who made him one of MGM's most bankable male stars. In a time when many stars played tough guys or sad romantics, his good looks and gentle personality made him stand out. People during the war really related to Van's portrayal of the average person. He was in the 1943 movie A Guy Named Joe with Spencer Tracy and Irene Dunne. His big break came with this movie, which was a huge hit. In a strange twist, Johnson was in a car accident while making this movie that almost killed him and left him with a metal plate in his head. Because of his injuries, he was not allowed to serve in the troops during World War II. Van Johnson stayed in Hollywood while many leading men went to war. He became a reliable and well-known face in both patriotic movies and romantic plays. In a strange way, the fact that he couldn't fight in the military helped him become famous because he became a hero to many American families through movies. Johnson was in a lot of hit movies in the 1940s, such as 30 Seconds Over Tokyo, 1944, Two Girls and a Sailor, 1944, Thrill of a Romance, 1945, and The Caine Mutiny, 1954. He often worked with Esther Williams, June Allison, and Judy Garland, three of MGM's best performers. He often played young, sincere soldiers, husbands, or boyfriends, roles that were full of sincerity and hope. Fans loved how well Johnson and June Allison got along, and the two of them were often put together on screen as the ideal couple. He also sang and danced well in musical comedies. His serious range was shown in movies like State of the Union, 1948, in which he starred with Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy, and Command Decision, 1948, which was a tense wartime drama. Van Johnson became well known. It was at its peak in the mid-1940s, when he was one of the biggest stars in American movies. He was on the pages of many fan magazines, and he got thousands of letters every week from fans all over the world. Teenage girls and their mothers really liked him because he looked very American and had a clean cut. In the 1950s, as the studio system fell apart and new acting styles came on the scene, Johnson's film work slowed down. Whatever the case, he changed by moving on to TV and the stage. She wrote that he was in a lot of TV shows, like Batman, Love, American Style, The Love Boat, and Murder. He played parts on stage in regional theaters and on national tours, such as a long run in Lasage of Damn Yankees, where his stage presence stayed strong and crowds liked him. Johnson stayed close to his friends even as he got older. After his death, he was honored at film festivals, and his co-stars always remembered how kind and gentle he was. His co-workers often said that he was a real gentleman who was kind, funny, and reliable. Van Johnson married Eve Abbott, a former stage actress, on January 25, 1947. This was just one day after Eve's divorce from character actor Keenan Wynn was confirmed. Given how quickly things happened and how connected everyone involved is, the time of this marriage made people in Hollywood and beyond raise an eyebrow. Eve Abbott had been friends with people in Hollywood for a long time, and her ex-husband Keenan Wynn was not only friendly with Van Johnson but also a well-known actor known for playing strong characters. The three of them had an extremely complicated relationship, which became the subject of Hollywood rumors, even though not many details were made public at the time. Van and Eve had their only child together, a girl named Skylar Johnson, soon after they got married in 1948. This new family dynamic made things even more complicated at home, since Johnson also became the stepfather of Eve's two boys from her previous marriage. Keenan, Ned Wynn, and Keenan, Tracy Wynn. Both went on to make names for themselves in the film business, with Tracy Keenan Wynn becoming famous as a screenwriter. Even though things seemed normal in this family, there were deep problems that would finally come to light decades later. In 2004, Eve Abbott died at the age of 90. After her death, a statement she had written before she died revealed a shocking truth. Her claim was that her marriage to Van Johnson was not a real pledge to love, but rather a planned move by the powerful studio system, especially MGM, to protect Johnson's public image. Eve says that MGM officials were eager to put an end to the rumors that Johnson was gay because they were afraid that any scandal would ruin the career of one of their most bankable leading men. She said that Johnson picked her to be his wife because she was the only woman he would marry. To stop rumors about his sexual tastes, they needed their big star to be married, she remembered with bitterness. Unfortunately, I was the only woman he would marry. There were more than just love ties between Van Johnson, Eve Abbott, and Keenan Wynn. They were deeply in love and feeling that didn't fit with typical relationship labels. Even Keenan Wynn's famous father, comedian Ed Wynn, said, "I can't keep them straight." Evie loved Keenan. Keenan loves Evie. Van loves Evie. Evie loves Van. Van loves Keenan. Keenan loves Van. His joke was funny, but it also hinted at deeper problems. It could have been about more than just how close the men were emotionally, it could have also been about the rumors about their sexual identities in a time when such things were strictly private. As Ronald L. Davis wrote about Van Johnson's life, he said that his homosexuality, or at least his sexual ambiguity, was pretty much a well-kept secret in the Hollywood film community. Davis says that everyone in the film capital knew that Johnson had homosexual tendencies. Even so, in the early 1960s, their relationship finally started to fall apart. Eve's son Ned Wynn says the breaking point was when Van Johnson was playing the charismatic Professor Harold Hill in The Music Man on London's West End. It was during this production that Johnson is said to have started an affair with a much younger male dancer in the cast. Ned said that Johnson left his mother for a man, or more accurately, a boy. He's the lead boy dancer, which confirmed the rumors that had been going around about Johnson for years. The couple split up in 1961, and after a long time of being distant, they got a divorce in 1968, just 4 years after Mayer died and Mayer's protective influence was no longer in place. The public saw Van Johnson's marriage to Evie Wynn Johnson as picture-perfect, like something from the golden age of Hollywood. But behind the scenes, things were much more complicated and ultimately tragic. The union, which was partly forced by studio pressure, was tainted from the start by lies, different expectations, and deep emotional wounds that would take decades to heal. If Evie had known that Van Johnson was gay, she would never have married him. In later years, she told the public, "I would never have married Van Johnson had I known he was homosexual." This blunt admission confirmed what many people in Hollywood had long thought but never talked about in public. In the middle of the 20th century, rumors of homosexuality could ruin a star's career right away, so studios often messed with their personal lives to keep up a good public image. Johnson's career was managed by MGM, a powerful studio that was known to have a lot of power over its stars. And many people think that the studio strongly supported, if not directly planned, the marriage as a way to stop the rumors about Johnson's sexuality. Evie filed for divorce in 1960, after years of problems with her husband. This seemed to be the end of their troubled marriage, but surprisingly, they got back together for a short time. In 1961, Evie went to London with Van while he was filming The Music Man, a musical adaptation in which Johnson played Professor Harold Hill, though Robert Preston was famously cast in the role. It's possible that the trip was an attempt to make things better or just a way to stay connected, but it didn't work. By 1968, the divorce was final, ending their troubled marriage of almost 20 years. Years later, Evie bitterly thought about how the marriage had hurt her emotionally and financially. In a 1999 statement, she talked about the long-lasting effects of the relationship. "I've been reduced to near poverty and went bankrupt some years ago thanks to Van's lack of appreciation for what I did for him by being pressured to marry him by MGM." Her words show not only the sacrifices she made, but also the price that old Hollywood stars and their families had to pay to live in an illusion. After they got divorced, Evie lived in Beverly Hills for a while, probably because she was used to being in Hollywood's circle and missed the social life she had as the wife of a movie star. Eventually, she moved to Florida, where she lived out her last years in relative obscurity and died in July 2004. Her story, which is mostly overshadowed by Van's, is a moving reminder of the women who stood behind Hollywood's leading men and often had to endure great personal cost. In addition to talking about Van Johnson's complicated personal relationships and public image, Eve also talked about his personality and inner life. She showed a very different man from the happy, friendly roles that had made him famous. Despite his sunny on-screen image as the boy next door or a lovable war hero, Eve said that Johnson was often moody and emotionally unstable. She said that a lot of Johnson's behavior came from having a painful and hard childhood. He had a bad relationship with his father as a child, and the anger and emotional distance that he felt from him left deep psychological scars. Johnson, she said, couldn't handle much conflict or stress. Whenever there was trouble at home or with his emotions, he would quickly go into his bedroom, close the door, and shut out everyone else. This pattern of emotionally withdrawing became a sign of his adult life and relationships. Van Johnson, a famous Hollywood actor with a career that spanned several decades, retired in the early 1990s. He chose to live a quieter, more private life in New York City after leaving the spotlight. He lived in a penthouse apartment at 405 East 54th Street on the east side of Manhattan. This was in one of the city's most desirable neighborhoods, known for its beautiful buildings, closeness to Central Park, and lively cultural scene. Johnson could enjoy the comforts and amenities of city life while still being close to the theaters and entertainment industry hubs that had been important to his career over the years. As he got older, Johnson moved to a more supportive living environment that met his needs. He moved to Tappan Zee Manor, an assisted living facility in Nyack, New York. Nyack is a beautiful town on the west shore of the Hudson River that was a far cry from the busyness of Manhattan. Tappan Zee Manor is known for giving its residents, even those with health problems related to getting older, good care that helps them keep a good quality of life in their later years. Johnson spent his last days there, surrounded by professional caregivers and a community that valued respect and dignity for its elderly residents. Van Johnson died at Tappan's Manor on December 12, 2008, at the age of 92. He lived a long time, especially considering the many problems that living in Hollywood can sometimes bring. Johnson's body was cremated after he died, which may have been a choice for simplicity or personal preference in line with modern memorial practices. Fans and historians alike will remember and celebrate Van Johnson's work in movies and TV, even though he died at the end of an era. Despite having a long and successful career, he was never nominated for an Academy Award, which surprises many who value his contributions to film. During the height of his career, especially in the 1940s and 1950s, Johnson was known for always being happy and easy to talk to on screen. He often played the boy next door character, giving his roles warmth, sincerity, and a likable charm that made audiences love him. Because of this, he was a mainstay in Hollywood musicals, dramas, and comedies, even if it meant that award committees sometimes missed him in favor of more dramatic or groundbreaking performances. But since Johnson's death, some critics and film scholars have looked at his body of work again and seen a more talented actor underneath his sunny personality. One critic said Johnson could give an Oscar-worthy performance, which is more than most movie stars can say. This shows that Johnson's lack of formal award recognition wasn't because he wasn't skilled or artistic, it was because of the roles he was cast in and how people felt about actors of his style at the time. His performances had nuance, emotional depth, and an authenticity that could have been praised more if things had been different. The star not only represents his success, but also the love and respect he earned in the business. It will make sure that Van Johnson's name stays etched in Hollywood history for years to come, remembering a career marked by professionalism, charm, and